Now, imagine you're making a tower defense game in Roblox and you think to yourself, what should I add? Maybe add more towers, maps. You know what, let's just rescript the entire game for absolutely no reason. Remember when I said that I rescripted the game for absolutely no reason? Yeah, I lied. So, basically, I have a problem. The old code wasn't written by me, but by my imaginary friend. And I may or may not have no idea how it works. What's the first thing we need to do? Well, we need a way to actually get into a game, and for that, we need a queuing system. But before we can script that, we need to do something else. We need to create a lobby, and judging by my amazing building skills, this shouldn't take too long, right? I mean, it's just going to be a small lobby that I'll remake later. Well, apart from the insane lobby and the amount of time this absolute masterpiece took me to build, it should hopefully work. Now that the amazing looking lobby is built, we can finally move on to making a proper queuing system. But not just any queuing system, we need to make a proper elevator queuing system. Perfect! So, basically, go inside this very nice looking elevator and wait for your friends to join. And wait for your friends to join. And that's when I realized I have no friends. So, let's make a global matchmaking system. First, we need to figure out how this actually works, as I happen to have the IQ of potato. So, after reading a few different posts and melting my brain out, I think I have at least a simple idea on how this works. Basically, we use something called memory store service, which we use to store the player parties, and then, with the magic of a few lines of code, we can make the server update the parties and form new ones. Or at least, that's how it's supposed to work. Turns out, there's a few more variables that make this seemingly simple problem into a nightmare that will haunt me for the rest of my life. First issue I ran into was a simple one. I couldn't sort by the player's level, so instead, for each age of a group, I created a separate queue. Unfortunately for me, that wasn't the only issue, as it turns out that matchmaking systems are held together by duct tape and suffering. What happens when two servers act like little children fighting over one player? You guessed it. Or at least I think you did. Basically, both of the servers try to add a player to their party, which can create 1,000 more issues that my tiny brain can't even comprehend. So, how do you fix this? Roblox gives us update async, which makes the claiming atomic, and if that somehow fails, we use a bit of coding magic and create a cleanup system that removes the player from any other parties when they teleport. And in theory, that should work. Why in theory? Well, because I haven't exactly tested this with a large number of players, so for now, we're just gonna hope it works. After quickly remaking all of the scripts in the lobby, we can finally move on to the game part. So, what's the first thing we need to do? Step 1 is making the maps actually load. But how do we do that? Well, instead of creating a new place for each map, we can just tell the server what map to load when the player queues, do a quick background check, make sure the player isn't wanted by the government, and after all that, we can finally load the map. Perfect. Now, if you look very closely, you can tell that nothing is really happening, and after months of research, I've finally come to the conclusion that making a wave system is a good idea. So let's just copy the wave script from my last video, which you should definitely watch, and improve it a little. Turns out this problem was a bit more complicated. To be honest, I could have just left the wave script as it was, because there's a miracle, it actually worked. But since the entire premise of this video is remaking the code and suffering, I decided against that. The old script worked, but when I added more enemies, the server started having a mental breakdown. This was because in my last script, the server would update every single enemy, every single frame, and then send all of that to the client. And when you have like 50 enemies, updating every single frame, it becomes a slight problem. So instead of yelling at the client and the network exploding, I let the client handle the movement. Now the server just tells the client when to spawn and hopes for the best. And in the background, it still keeps track of everything important, so the game doesn't collapse on itself. And after quickly remaking the old tower system to work with the new wave system, the game can finally be played. Which means I can finally take a break, or maybe I could remake everything again. And hey, if you liked the video then like, and if you subscribe to the video then... Wait, what?